A 5-year-old girl walks into a luxury toy store with a bag of coins and asks to buy a father. What begins as an innocent question shatters a billionaire's carefully guarded life. One promise, one courtroom, one child will love be enough to stay forever. The bell above the glass door chimed softly. Every head in Cross and Clover toys turned at once. She was too small for this place. Too quiet. Too wrong. The girl stood frozen just inside the doorway. Rainwater dripping from the hem of her oversized yellow jacket onto imported marble tiles that cost more than most people's rent. She couldn't have been more than 5 years old. Her brown hair was tied into a crooked ponytail. One sneaker lace dragged behind her like it had given up. Around her the store glowed. Hand-carved wooden trains. Limited edition dolls from Europe. Shelves lit in warm amber light. Classical music whispered through hidden speakers. This wasn't a toy store. It was a shrine to childhoods that never knew hunger. Parents with black cards paused mid-step. A sales associate frowned, already preparing to intervene. But the girl didn't look scared. She looked determined. Her eyes moved slowly across the displays, not with excitement, but calculation, as if she were measuring whether this place could solve a problem too big for someone her size. From the back office, Ethan Cross glanced at the security monitor. He expected to see a familiar silhouette, a regular, someone wealthy, someone predictable. Instead, he saw her, a single child, alone, soaked by Seattle rain. Ethan's brow creased. Something tightened in his chest, an instinct he hadn't used in years. He stepped out onto the showroom floor just as the girl began walking toward the counter. Her steps were careful, respectful, like she was afraid the floor might reject her. When she reached the counter, she didn't look at the toys. She looked straight at him. Ethan bent slightly, lowering himself to her level. His voice softened without permission. "Hi there," he said. "Can I help you?" The girl nodded once. "Yes," she replied quietly. Then she reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out a small, crinkled Ziploc bag. The girl placed the bag on the counter with both hands, very carefully. She opened it and poured the contents out one by one, lining them up as if they mattered. Wrinkled dollar bills, quarters dulled by time, pennies worn almost smooth. Exactly $11.37. She pushed the small pile forward. Ethan watched in silence. He'd closed 8-figure deals without blinking, negotiated rooms full of men twice his size. But this stopped him cold. She looked up at him. Her eyes were hazel, steady, older than 5 had any right to be. "I want to buy a father," she said. The store seemed to inhale. A woman near the doll aisle gasped. The sales associate froze. Ethan blinked, convinced he'd misheard. "I'm sorry," he said gently. "What was that, a father?" the girl repeated, enunciating carefully. "A good one who stays." She nudged the money closer, just a little. "This is all I have," she added. "Is it enough?" For a moment, Ethan couldn't speak. Words, his greatest weapon, abandoned him. "I'm afraid," he finally said, choosing each syllable like glass. "We don't sell fathers here." Her shoulders dipped, just barely. "But you sell everything else," she replied, glancing around. "This is the fancy store. My mommy said fancy stores have special things." Ethan crouched lower, his knees creaking against the polished floor. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lily," she said. "Lily Mae Carter. And how old are you, Lily?" She held up her hand. 5. I'll be 6 next spring. My daddy won't be there for that." The sentence landed between them like a dropped plate. Ethan swallowed. "Why do you need to buy a father?" he asked softly. Lily looked down at her money. "Because my daddy left," she said, "and my mommy got sick. And then she didn't wake up anymore." She lifted her eyes again. "And my grandma says men leave when things get hard. So I thought, maybe I could buy one who won't." Something inside Ethan broke. Not loudly, not all at once. Just a quiet fracture, deep and precise. He leaned back against the counter, the polished wood suddenly cold against his palms. Lily stood there, small and patient, waiting for an answer, like this was a normal transaction. Like heartbreak had a price tag. "I'm very sorry about your mommy," Ethan said. Lily nodded. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'm used to being sorry." The words cut deeper than any accusation. "Where do you live, Lily?" he asked. "With Mrs. Harlow," she said. "She lives upstairs from my mommy's old apartment. She lets me sleep on her couch, but she gets tired a lot." Ethan glanced at the clock. It was getting dark. The rain outside had thickened into something colder, meaner. "And how did you get here?" "I took the bus." Lily said, a hint of pride flickering. "I know which stop is the library. 5 years old, alone." Ethan's chest tightened again, but this time with something unfamiliar. Fear. Not for himself. For her. He straightened slowly. "Lily," he said, "what if, instead of buying something today, we talked?" She hesitated, studied his face, then nodded. "That's okay," she said. "But can I keep my money?" "Yes," he replied quickly. "You should." He closed the register, hung the sign. Closed, back in 10 minutes. Something he had never done. Outside, the rain soaked the city in gray. Ethan grabbed his coat and held the door open. "I can drive you home," he said. Lily looked up at him, suspicious. "You're not leaving, right?" she asked. The question hit harder than the request to buy a father. Ethan met her gaze. "No," he said quietly. "I'm not." She took his hand. And in that moment, without either of them realizing it, a life built on control began to collapse, and something warmer started to take its place. The Tesla's door shut with a soft, expensive thud. Inside, everything smelled like clean leather and money that never had to worry. The cabin lights cast a gentle glow over Lily's damp sleeves, her small hands folded neatly in her lap like she was trying not to take up space. Ethan pulled onto the street, windshield wipers beating a steady rhythm against the rain. For a while, neither of them spoke. Seattle blurred outside in gray streaks, neon signs, slick pavement headlights smeared into long rivers of light. Ethan glanced at Lily in the passenger seat. She stared straight ahead, chin lifted, like she'd decided crying was a luxury she couldn't afford. "You're very brave," Ethan said. Lily didn't smile. "I'm just doing it," she replied. "If I don't, nobody does." The sentence hit him like a punch he hadn't seen coming. Ethan's fingers tightened around the steering wheel. He knew that feeling. Not from poverty, he'd never been hungry the way Lily had, but from a different kind of emptiness. The kind that comes from living in a house where love is conditional and silence is the only warmth. His parents had been present like furniture, polished, expensive, untouched. When he was 9, he'd once asked his father to come to his school's science fair. He remembered the man's eyes sliding away the way his tie was adjusted, like that was more important than a child's hope. "I'll try," his father had said. He never came. Ethan learned early that try was just another word for don't count on it. So Ethan built his life around things that didn't leave numbers, contracts, code systems. He created an empire out of certainty. He sold his cybersecurity company for enough money to never need anyone again. And still at night, his mansion felt like a museum of success, built for a man who didn't exist. The silence in his home had always been manageable. Until Lily's voice. "I took the bus because Mrs. Harlow sleeps a lot," Lily said suddenly, as if continuing a thought only she could hear. "And if I woke her, she'd get headaches. I don't want her to be mad. She's all I have." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Where is Mrs. Harlow right now?" he asked. "In bed," Lily said. "She said I could go to the library. I told her I'd be good." Ethan didn't like how calm she said it. Like being alone in the city at 5 years old was normal. "Lily," he said, keeping his voice even, "what if something happened to you out there?" Lily looked at him then. Her eyes were steady, but there was something inside them that trembled like a candle flame fighting the wind. Things happen, she said. That's why I'm trying to buy a dad. Dads are supposed to stop bad things. Ethan swallowed. A red light stopped them. The rain hammered the roof. Lily's gaze flicked to the dashboard screen, then back to him. You're not mad at me, she asked. Ethan blinked. Why would I be? Because I'm not supposed to be in fancy places, she whispered. People look at me like I'm dirt. Ethan's throat tightened an unfamiliar ache. You're not dirt, he said quietly. You're a child. Lily stared at him for a long moment like she was testing whether his words would hold. Then she nodded once, almost imperceptibly. And Ethan realized with a chill that had nothing to do with the rain that he wasn't just driving her home. He was driving straight into a life he'd spent years avoiding. The building was old enough to remember better days. Peeling paint. A buzzing hallway light that flickered like it couldn't decide whether to stay alive. Security bars on the lower windows. The kind of place people passed without seeing, tucked behind newer glass towers that screamed progress. Lily pointed up at the second floor. 2B, she said, the one with the little fake flowers. Ethan parked and killed the engine. He didn't move right away. He watched Lily's small fingers fidget at the edge of her jacket sleeve, twisting fabric that had been washed too many times, stretched and reshaped by someone else's life. Do you want me to walk you up? He asked. Lily hesitated, eyes narrowing with the seriousness of someone used to making hard decisions. Yes, she said, but don't talk too loud. Mrs. Harlow gets scared when she wakes up fast. They climbed the stairs. Each step creaked like a warning. Lily knocked in a precise pattern, tap, tap. Pause, tap. The door opened a crack, then wider. An elderly woman stood there, wrapped in a faded robe, oxygen tube tucked beneath her nose. Her silver hair was pinned back messily. Her eyes were sharp, suspicious, and exhausted all at once. Lily May, she said, relief and anger colliding in her voice. Where have you? Her gaze snapped to Ethan. And who are you? Ethan lifted both hands slightly, non-threatening. My name is Ethan Cross, he said. I own the toy store downtown. Lily came in today and I didn't want her traveling alone in the dark. Mrs. Harlow's eyes skimmed over his coat, his watch, the calm confidence he carried like armor. Rich people don't give rides for free, she muttered. Lily stepped forward, standing between them like a tiny shield. He didn't yell, she said quickly. He was nice. Mrs. Harlow exhaled through her nose, then opened the door fully. Come in, she said, though the words sounded like she didn't want to owe anyone anything. The apartment was small but painfully clean. Floral curtains faded by time. A worn couch with a blanket folded precisely on the armrest. The air smelled like lemon cleaner and something heavier underneath medicine and loneliness. Ethan's gaze caught on a framed photograph on the wall, a young woman with warm eyes holding a much smaller Lily on her hip. The woman's smile looked tired but real. That's my mommy, Lily whispered, following his eyes. Her name was June. Ethan didn't ask how she died. He didn't need to. Death lived in the corners of the room, quiet and permanent. Mrs. Harlow lowered herself into a chair, carefully hand-braced on the armrest. She's been with me since the funeral, the woman said, voice rough. Her daddy disappeared after. Said he couldn't do it. One day he was there, the next, poof. Lily stared at the carpet, expression blank, like she'd learned to turn grief into stone. I called social services, Mrs. Harlow continued, bitterness hardening her words. Twice. They said they're overloaded, but they'll come soon. And when they do, they'll take her. Ethan felt something cold crawl up his spine. Take her where, he asked, though he already knew. Mrs. Harlow's mouth tightened. Foster care, she said. And don't you pretend you don't know what that means. Ethan looked at Lily. 5 years old, too small, too alone. Lily lifted her eyes, and for the first time her bravery cracked. "Don't let them," she whispered. The words weren't directed at Mrs. Harlow. They were aimed at him. And Ethan realized he'd just been handed a terrible, impossible choice. Ethan didn't sit. He stood in the center of the room like he might shatter something simply by being there. The apartment felt tight, every wall pressing in with history and hardship. Lily hovered near the couch, close enough to Mrs. Harlow to feel safe, but her eyes kept flicking back to Ethan like a lifeline she didn't trust yet. Mrs. Harlow watched him with the hard wisdom of someone who'd been disappointed by good intentions before. "You're going to say something nice," she said flatly. "Then you're going to leave. That's what people do." Ethan's jaw clenched. "No," he said. The word fell heavier than he expected. Mrs. Harlow's eyebrows lifted. No, Ethan took a slow breath. He'd walked into boardrooms and moved markets with a sentence. But this was different. This wasn't strategy. This was a child's future. "How soon will social services come?" he asked. Mrs. Harlow shrugged. "Could be days, could be weeks. But I can't keep her much longer. My daughter wants me in Spokane. She says I'm not safe alone. And she's right." Lily's small hand tightened around the edge of the couch blanket. Ethan looked at her, then at the photograph again. June's eyes in the frame were gentle, as if she'd once believed the world could be kind. "What happens if Lily goes into the system?" he asked quietly. Mrs. Harlow's gaze flicked away. "She'll bounce. Homes, strangers, rules. Maybe she gets lucky, maybe she doesn't. But she's 5. That's the truth." A pulse of anger rose in Ethan's chest, hot and sharp. Not at Mrs. Harlow, at the idea that the world could swallow someone so small and call it normal. Lily's voice barely rose above the hum of the old refrigerator. "I'm good," she said quickly. "I can be quiet, I can clean, I can stop." "Ethan," said the word, cutting through the room. Lily froze. Ethan softened immediately, crouching down so his eyes were level with hers. "You don't have to earn a place to exist," he said, voice low. "Not with me. Not anywhere." Lily stared at him, confused by the concept. Ethan stood again and turned to Mrs. Harlow. "I can take her," he said. Silence. Mrs. Harlow's laugh was short and humorless. "You can take her temporarily." Ethan corrected, though the word tasted like a lie. "I have a safe home. Resources, I can provide stability while we work through the legal process properly. Guardianship, court approval, whatever needs to happen." Mrs. Harlow leaned forward, eyes sharp. No offense, Mr. Cross, but why, she demanded. Why would a rich man take in a child he met for 10 minutes? People don't do that. Ethan's mind flashed to Lily's coins on his counter. The way she'd lined them up like they could buy safety. The way she'd asked if he was leaving. He could have said something polished. Instead, the truth came out raw. "Because I know what it feels like to be unwanted," he said. "And I can't. I can't watch that happen to her." Lily's breath hitched. Mrs. Harlow studied him for a long moment, weighing him like a judge. Then she nodded slowly, reluctantly. "If you do this," she warned, "you don't get to change your mind when it gets hard." Ethan didn't look away. "I won't," he said. Lily whispered, barely audible, "Promise." Ethan turned back to her. His voice was quiet but unbreakable. "I promise," he said. And in that cramped apartment, under flickering light and rain-soaked silence, Ethan Cross stepped into the one deal that would cost him everything he thought he was and give him something he never knew he needed. The gate slid open without a sound. Lily leaned forward in her seat, her nose almost touching the glass, as the car rolled into a world she had only seen on television. Long curved driveway, soft lights hidden in the trees, a house made of glass and stone that reflected the dark lake like a mirror. "You live here," she whispered. Ethan parked and turned off the engine. For the first time, his home looked strange to him. Too perfect. Too empty. "It's just a house," he said. Lily nodded politely, but her eyes didn't believe him. Inside, the space swallowed sound. Every step echoed. The ceilings were too high, the walls too clean, the silence too sharp. Lily slipped her small hand into the sleeve of Ethan's coat, not touching him directly, just close enough to feel that someone was there. She took off her sneakers at the door without being asked. "I don't want to make it dirty," she said quickly. Ethan felt a pang in his chest. He led her through rooms no one used. A dining table that had never hosted laughter. A living room arranged for magazines, not people. Lily walked slowly, as if afraid the house might reject her if she moved too fast. "This is where you'll sleep," Ethan said, opening the guest room. The room had been staged by a designer years ago. Neutral colors. A bed that looked untouched by dreams. Lily climbed onto the edge of the mattress, bouncing once, then froze. "It's okay," Ethan said gently. "It won't break." She smiled, a small, uncertain curve of her mouth, and bounced again this time, letting out a soft laugh she tried to swallow. "I've never had my own bed," she admitted. "I used to sleep on the couch, so Mrs. Harlow wouldn't fall." Ethan turned away for a moment, pretending to check the window. "I'll be downstairs," he said. "If you need anything—" Lily hesitated. "Do I have to go to sleep right now?" she asked. "I don't like sleeping in new places." "No," Ethan replied. "You don't have to do anything tonight." She nodded, relieved. As he left the room, Ethan paused in the hallway, listening. The house wasn't silent anymore. It was holding its breath. Ethan lay awake long after midnight. The house creaked softly around him, settling like an old animal unused to company. He told himself Lily was asleep, safe, that this was temporary, controlled. Then he heard it. A sound too small for the size of the house. A whimper. He was on his feet before he could think. Lily's door was half open. Light spilled into the hallway from the small lamp Ethan had left on for her. Inside, Lily twisted under the blanket, fists clenched, breath hitching in shallow bursts. "No," she murmured. "Don't go." "Please don't." Ethan stepped closer. "Lily," he said softly. She didn't hear him. Her face crumpled, tears leaking from tightly shut eyes. Her body shook like she was bracing against something invisible. Ethan sat on the edge of the bed, unsure where to put his hands. He hadn't touched another human being like this in years. "It's okay," he said again, quieter. "You're safe." Lily gasped awake, eyes wild, searching. For a split second, she didn't recognize him. Then she broke. She lunged forward, burying her face into his chest with a sob that sounded older than her 5 years. Her arms wrapped around him like she was afraid he might dissolve. Ethan froze, then slowly, carefully wrapped his arms around her. Her heartbeat was frantic. Her body was so small, too small to carry this much fear. "They always leave," she cried into his shirt. "I was good. I was really good." Ethan swallowed hard. "I'm here," he said, his voice unsteady. "I'm right here." She clung to him until her sobs quieted into exhausted hiccups. He didn't move, didn't check the time, didn't think about tomorrow. Eventually, Lily pulled back just enough to look at him. "You're not my daddy," she said sleepily, like she was reminding herself. "No," Ethan said. "But you stayed," she whispered. Ethan felt something inside him give way. "Yes," he said. "I stayed." She nodded, satisfied, and curled back under the blanket. One small hand reached out, gripping the edge of his sleeve. "Can you stay till I sleep?" she asked. Ethan didn't answer. He just stayed. Morning light crept into the kitchen like a visitor unsure of its welcome. Ethan stood at the counter, staring at a frying pan like it was a foreign object. He'd ordered breakfast for most of his adult life. Cooking had never been necessary. Lily patted in quietly, still in her oversized pajamas. She stopped when she saw him. "You're still here," she said. Ethan turned, surprised by the weight of the statement. "Yes," he replied. "Good morning." She nodded solemnly, then climbed onto a stool, folding her hands in her lap like she was attending a meeting. "What happens now?" she asked. Ethan cracked an egg too hard. Shell fragments scattered. He sighed. "We eat breakfast." Lily watched him struggle with fascination. "My mommy used to burn pancakes," she said, "but we ate them anyway." Ethan smiled faintly. "That sounds perfect." As they ate uneven, slightly burnt eggs, Lily glanced around the massive kitchen. "Is this my house?" she asked carefully. Ethan paused. "For now," he said honestly. She considered this. "Okay." After breakfast, Lily wandered into the living room, leaving fingerprints on glass that had never known them. She found a framed photo on a shelf, Ethan at a tech conference, surrounded by people who looked impressed, but distant. "You look lonely," she said. Ethan blinked. "I was." She nodded like that explained everything. Later that day, Ethan's phone buzzed. A voicemail, unknown number. He stepped away and listened. "Mr. Cross," a woman's voice said, smooth and sharp. "My name is Vanessa Carter. I believe you currently have custody of my niece, Lily Mae Carter." Ethan's blood ran cold. "She's family," the voice continued, "and family doesn't belong to strangers. We need to talk." Ethan looked through the glass wall. Lily sat on the floor, carefully lining up toy blocks, building something fragile, deliberate, hopeful, something that could be knocked over at any moment. Ethan deleted the voicemail. Not yet, he thought. Not without a fight. The word temporary began to echo through the house like a quiet threat. Ethan heard it in phone calls with lawyers, in emails from social services, in his own voice when he tried to reassure himself. Lily heard it too. She didn't know the legal meaning, but she understood the feeling. Temporary was how long people stayed before leaving. It was a Tuesday afternoon when Ethan found her sitting on the floor of the guest room, carefully folding her clothes into a neat pile. Not packing, just arranging, like she was practicing. "What are you doing?" he asked. Lily didn't look up. "So it's easier." "Easier for what? For when I have to go," she said simply. Ethan's chest tightened. "Who said you have to go?" She shrugged. "Grown-ups say for now when they don't want to say forever." The truth in that statement unsettled him more than any legal memo. That night, after Lily fell asleep, Ethan stood alone in his office, city lights reflecting off the glass walls. He replayed Vanessa Carter's voicemail again. "Family doesn't belong to strangers." He called his attorney. "I want to pursue temporary guardianship," Ethan said, immediately. There was a pause on the other end. "Ethan," the lawyer replied carefully. "You've known this child less than a week. This won't be simple." "I don't need simple," Ethan said. "I need her safe." The paperwork began the next morning. Interviews, home inspections, background checks. Ethan complied with everything, methodical and precise. This was territory he understood and processed documentation systems. What he didn't understand was the way Lily watched him now. How she flinched when the doorbell rang. How she asked every night, "You'll still be here in the morning, right?" One evening, as Ethan tucked her in. Lily hesitated. "If I'm really good," she asked, "can I stay longer?" Ethan sat beside her, brushing hair from her forehead. "You don't have to earn your place," he said again. She nodded, but her eyes didn't fully believe him. Because children like Lily had learned something adults often forgot. Love that depends on conditions isn't love, it's a countdown. And Ethan realized with a quiet dread that temporary was already hurting her. Vanessa Carter didn't come to the house. She came to the toy store. Melissa, Ethan's store manager, called him mid-morning. Her voice was tense. "There's a woman here asking for you," she said. "She says it's family business." Ethan arrived to find Vanessa standing near the counter, perfectly styled eyes sharp and appraising. She wore confidence like perfume, strong, deliberate, invasive. So she said, smiling thinly, "You're Ethan Cross? And you're Vanessa Carter?" Ethan replied, "You should have contacted my attorney." "Oh, I will," she said lightly. but I wanted to see you first, in person. Her gaze drifted around the store. You have good taste. Expensive hobbies. This isn't about money, Ethan said. Vanessa laughed. Everything is about money, especially children. The word children landed wrong. She's my niece, Vanessa continued. My sister's daughter. Blood. Blood didn't keep you around when her mother died, Ethan said evenly. Vanessa's smile tightened. I had my own problems. And now they're solved, Ethan asked. She leaned closer. I'm filing for custody. The system favors family. You know that. Not all family is safe, Ethan replied. Vanessa straightened. You think I'm unsafe? I think Lily is terrified of you, Ethan said. And that matters? Vanessa scoffed. She's 5. She's been coached. Ethan's voice dropped. She doesn't need coaching to be afraid. Vanessa's eyes hardened. You're playing hero, she said. Men like you always think they can buy redemption. But when this gets messy, when it costs time, reputation, money, you'll let go. She stepped back, already done. Prepare her, Vanessa added. Kids adjust faster when they know the truth. Ethan watched her leave something dark settling in his chest. That night, Lily sensed it. You're mad, she said quietly at dinner. I'm worried, Ethan corrected. About me, she asked. Yes. She thought about that. Don't let her take me, Lily whispered. Ethan reached across the table, taking her small hand. I won't, he said. And for the first time, he understood what that promise might cost. The social worker arrived on Thursday. Her name was Ms. Reynolds. Kind eyes, clipboard heavy with rules. She spoke gently to Lily, asked about school favorite colors, bedtime routines. Lily answered politely, too politely, like she was afraid of saying the wrong thing. Then Ms. Reynolds turned to Ethan. Vanessa Carter has formally petitioned for custody, she said. As a biological relative, her claim will be taken seriously. Ethan nodded. And Lily's wishes, Ms. Reynolds sighed. They matter. But the court prioritizes blood ties unless there's clear evidence of harm. Lily sat very still. After Ms. Reynolds left, Lily didn't speak for a long time. She lined up her toy blocks again. Straight, careful. Ethan knelt beside her. Do you want to talk? She shook her head. Later that night, he found her sitting on the guest bed, backpack open. Inside a stuffed bear, her jacket, the Ziploc bag of coins. What are you doing? He asked quietly. So I don't forget anything, Lily said. Ethan felt something fracture, clean and painful. You don't need to pack, he said firmly. Not tonight, not tomorrow. She looked up, eyes glassy. She said kids don't get to choose. Ethan sat beside her. Sometimes the system is wrong, he said, and sometimes adults have to fight it. Lily studied his face, searching for cracks. Will you fight for me? She asked. Yes, Ethan said without hesitation. How hard Ethan swallowed. As hard as it takes. She leaned forward, resting her head against his chest, not crying, just listening to his heartbeat. Okay, she whispered. Then I'll stay brave. Ethan closed his eyes. For the first time, the battle was real, and it wasn't about legality anymore. It was about a 5-year-old girl who had already lost too much, and a man who was no longer willing to lose her. Lily's kindergarten was loud in the way only small children could be, bright voices, scattered laughter, the chaos of shoes too big and backpacks too heavy. Vanessa Carter stood out immediately. She didn't belong there. Her heels clicked against the linoleum floor like a warning. Her smile was sharp, rehearsed, the kind adults used when they wanted something and didn't care who noticed. Lily saw her before anyone else did. She froze. Her crayon rolled off the table and hit the floor, leaving a crooked red line behind. Lily didn't move to pick it up. Her small hands curled into fists, nails digging into her palms. Vanessa crouched in front of her. Hi, sweetheart, she said softly. Do you remember me? Lily's throat tightened. She nodded once, barely. I'm your Aunt Vanessa continued. Your real family. Lily glanced around searching for a teacher. For Ethan. For anyone. Vanessa leaned closer. Too close. You won't have to stay with strangers much longer, she whispered. You're coming home with me soon. Lily shook her head. I don't want to, she said. Vanessa's smile didn't move. Children don't always get what they want. That afternoon, Lily didn't speak on the drive home. She stared out the window, silent, unmoving, like something inside her had locked shut. Ethan felt it immediately, the shift, the absence of Lily's small questions, her habit of narrating the world. Did something happen at school? He asked carefully. Lily's fingers twisted in her jacket. She came, Lily whispered. Ethan's grip tightened on the steering wheel. Who came, my aunt? The word tasted wrong in Lily's mouth. She said, I don't belong here, Lily added. She said, you're just pretending. Ethan pulled the car over without thinking. He turned to face her fully. Look at me, he said. Lily hesitated, then met his eyes. You belong where you are safe, Ethan said firmly. And you are safe here. Lily's eyes filled. She said, you'll get tired of me. Ethan felt rage, pure and unfiltered, rise in his chest. I will never get tired of you, he said. Never. That night, Ethan made a call he had been avoiding. I want to file for adoption, he told his attorney. Not temporary guardianship, permanent. There was silence on the line. Ethan, the attorney, said slowly, this will escalate everything. Good, Ethan replied. I'm done being careful. In her room, Lily sat on her bed, hugging her stuffed bear tightly. When Ethan knocked, she looked up. You're mad, she said. I'm determined, he corrected. She watched him, studying his face like she always did when she was afraid. Promise you won't disappear, she whispered. Ethan knelt in front of her. I'm not going anywhere, he said. Not now, not ever. Lily leaned forward and hugged him, not desperate this time, but deliberate. And for the first time since Vanessa appeared, Lily slept through the night. Family court didn't look like a place where lives were decided. It looked ordinary. Beige walls, hard benches, fluorescent lights that flattened everything into dull sameness. But the air was heavy with fear and hope tangled together. Ethan sat beside his attorney suit, immaculate posture controlled. Across the room sat Vanessa Carter. She wore navy blue, conservative, calculated. Her hair was pulled back, makeup soft, almost maternal. If Ethan didn't know better, he might have believed the performance. Lily sat between Ethan and the court-appointed child advocate. Her feet didn't touch the floor. She swung them slowly back and forth, a rhythm that betrayed her nerves. Judge Miriam Caldwell adjusted her glasses. We are here to determine temporary custody arrangements for Lily Mae Carter, she began, pending further evaluation. Temporary. The word landed like a blade. Vanessa's attorney spoke first, emphasizing blood ties, legal precedents, family reunification. Ethan listened, jaw clenched. Then it was his turn. Your Honor, Ethan said, standing. Lily has experienced abandonment, loss, and instability before she turned 5. Removing her again, placing her with someone she fears would cause irreparable harm. Vanessa scoffed softly. Fear is learned, she said when allowed to speak. She's been influenced. Judge Caldwell turned to Lily. Lily, she said gently, can you tell me where you want to live? The room went silent. Lily's fingers tightened around the edge of the chair. She looked at Vanessa, then at Ethan. Her voice shook. I want to stay with Ethan, she whispered. Vanessa's attorney objected immediately. Your Honor, the child is too young, Judge Caldwell raised a hand. She's old enough to speak. Lily swallowed. He stays, Lily said louder now. He doesn't leave. He doesn't yell. He listens. Vanessa leaned forward. Lily, honey, I don't want to go with you. Lily said, tears spilling over. You scare me. The judge took a long breath. This court recognizes the child's expressed preference, Judge Caldwell said slowly. However, biological relationships are significant. Ethan felt the ground shift beneath him. After deliberation, the judge spoke again. Temporary custody will remain with Mr. Cross, she ruled, but adoption proceedings will require further evaluation. This court will not rush permanence. Temporary. Again. Vanessa smiled as if she'd won something. Outside the courtroom, Lily clung to Ethan's hand. Did I do it wrong? She asked. Ethan knelt, holding her face gently. No, he said. You were perfect. But inside, he knew. This fight was far from over. That night, the house felt different. Heavier. Quieter. Lily sat at the kitchen table, pushing cereal around her bowl without eating. The light above her cast a small circle like she existed inside a fragile boundary the world kept trying to cross. Ethan watched her from the counter. You don't have to finish it, he said gently. Lily shook her head. I'm not hungry. After dinner, Ethan read to her slowly, carefully, until her eyelids drooped. When he tucked her in, she caught his sleeve. Ethan, yes. Why does everyone keep saying temporary? The question was small. The answer was not. Ethan sat beside her, choosing honesty over comfort. Because some adults are afraid of making promises, he said. Especially big ones. Lily was quiet for a long moment. Are you afraid? She asked. Ethan looked at her, at the child who had rearranged his entire life without asking permission. Yes, he admitted. Terrified. Lily nodded. Me too. She shifted closer. If I could choose, she whispered, could you be my dad? The room seemed to stop breathing. Ethan felt his heart break open, clean, irreversible. I want that, he said, voice rough. More than anything. Lily's eyes searched his face, careful. But only if you really mean forever, she said. I can't do pretend again. Ethan took her small hands in his. I mean forever, he said. I will fight every person, every system, every rule if I have to. Lily exhaled shakily. Okay, she said. Then I choose you. She leaned forward and rested her forehead against his chest. Not crying, trusting. Ethan wrapped his arms around her, understanding with sudden clarity that this was no longer about saving a child. It was about becoming a father. And whatever came next, courtrooms, paperwork, judgment, he would not walk away. The nightmares came back. Not every night, but often enough to matter. Ethan heard them through the walls, soft whimpers at first, then the sharp intake of breath Lily made right before she woke herself up. The sound carried something raw, something unfinished. One night she didn't cry. She sat upright in bed, eyes wide, staring at nothing. Ethan was there in seconds. Lily, he whispered, kneeling beside her. It's okay. You're safe. She didn't look at him. They said I have to choose again, she murmured. Ethan's chest tightened. Who said that? The judge, Lily replied. The lady with the glasses. He understood then. The hearing hadn't ended when they left the courtroom. It had followed Lily home, crawled into her thoughts, settled into her sleep. You already told the truth, Ethan said gently. You don't have to do anything else. Lily finally looked at him. But what if my truth isn't enough? She asked. The question gutted him. Ethan sat on the floor so they were eye to eye. Then I will make it enough, he said. That's my job. She leaned forward, resting her forehead against his. Promise you won't get tired if I'm scared a lot, she whispered. Ethan closed his eyes. I promise, he said. Fear doesn't scare me away. The next morning, Ethan received the email. Final evaluation scheduled. Judge requests private interview with child. No parents, no attorneys, just Lily. Ethan stared at the screen, anger and helplessness twisting together. She's 5, he said into the phone when he called his lawyer. This is too much pressure. I agree, the lawyer replied. But the judge wants to hear her directly. It could help us, or it could hurt. That afternoon, Ethan sat with Lily on the back deck overlooking the lake. The water was still reflecting the gray sky like a held breath. "They're going to ask you questions," he explained carefully. "You don't have to impress anyone. Just be honest." Lily swung her legs. "What if I cry?" she asked. "That's okay," Ethan said. "Crying tells the truth when words can't." She considered that. "What if I say I'm scared?" she asked. "Then you're telling the truth," he replied. She nodded, absorbing it all with the seriousness only a child who had lost too much could carry. "I'll be brave," Lily said finally. Ethan watched her 5 years old, preparing to carry the weight of a system built by adults who would never know what it cost her. And for the first time since this began, he felt real fear, not of losing the case, but of what it was doing to her. The judge's chambers were quieter than the courtroom. Softer chairs, warmer light, a bowl of wrapped candies on a side table that Lily didn't touch. Judge Miriam Caldwell sat across from her, no robe this time, only a calm face and patient eyes. Beside her sat a court-appointed child advocate, notebook open. "Thank you for coming in, Lily," the judge said gently. "I know this can feel scary." Lily nodded, fingers folded tightly in her lap. "I'm going to ask you a few questions," Judge Caldwell continued. "There are no right or wrong answers, just what feels true to you." Lily swallowed. "Okay. Can you tell me about Ethan?" the judge asked. Lily's shoulders relaxed slightly. "He stays," Lily said. The judge smiled faintly. "Can you tell me more than that?" "He makes breakfast even when it burns," Lily continued. "He listens when I talk, and when I get scared at night, he comes. He doesn't say I'm being silly." The advocate scribbled quickly. "And your Aunt Vanessa?" the judge asked. Lily's body went still. "She scares me," Lily said quietly. "In what way?" the judge pressed gently. "She talks like I don't hear her," Lily replied. "Like I'm a thing, not a person." Judge Caldwell leaned forward. "Has she ever hurt you?" Lily shook her head. "No. But she makes my tummy hurt, and my head feels loud when she's near." The judge nodded slowly. "If you could choose," she said, "where would you live?" Lily's voice trembled, but she didn't stop. "With Ethan," she said. "Because he chose me first." The words hung in the air. The advocate looked up sharply. "What do you mean by that, Lily?" she asked. Lily's eyes filled. "He didn't have to," Lily said, "but he did." The judge removed her glasses. "Thank you for being brave," she said. "You did very well." Outside, Ethan waited. The door opened. Lily ran to him, wrapping her arms around his legs like she'd been holding herself together with thread. "I told the truth," she whispered. Ethan knelt and hugged her tightly. "That's all you ever needed to do," he said. But as they walked down the long hallway together, Ethan knew the truth didn't always win, and that terrified him. The ruling was scheduled for Friday. 3 days felt like 3 years. Ethan barely slept. Lily became quieter, watching him with careful eyes, like she was afraid his worry meant something bad was coming. On Friday morning, Ethan dressed Lily in her soft blue sweater, the one she liked because it made her feel invisible but safe. The courtroom was full. Vanessa sat stiffly, her confidence thinner now, edges frayed. Her attorney whispered urgently in her ear. Judge Caldwell entered. Everyone rose. The judge wasted no time. "I have reviewed the evaluations testimony and the private interview with the child," she began. Ethan felt Lily's hand tighten around his. "The paramount concern of this court is the best interest of the child," the judge continued. "Not convenience, not biology alone." Vanessa shifted. "Ms. Carter," the judge said, turning to Vanessa, "your petition raises concerns. Your involvement appeared only after financial benefits became available. Your lack of prior contact weighs heavily against you." Vanessa's face flushed. "That's not fair enough," Judge Caldwell said firmly. She turned to Ethan. "Mr. Cross, You have demonstrated consistent care, emotional stability, and a willingness to place the child's needs above your own. Ethan barely breathed. This court orders that Lily Mae Carter remain in your custody, the judge said. Furthermore, I am approving the initiation of permanent adoption proceedings. Lily gasped. Vanessa stood abruptly. You can't do this. She's my blood. The bailiff moved closer. Miss Carter, the judge warned. Control yourself. Vanessa's glare burned into Ethan, but he didn't look back. He looked at Lily. She was smiling. Small, careful, real. Outside the courtroom, Lily tugged Ethan's hand. Does this mean I stay? She asked. Ethan knelt, eyes shining. Yes, he said. It means you stay. She threw her arms around his neck. Okay, she whispered. Then I won't be scared anymore. Ethan held her. Knowing fear didn't vanish so easily, but something stronger had arrived. The house felt lighter after the ruling. Not louder. Not suddenly joyful. Just steadier. That night, Ethan tucked Lily into bed, the same way he always did, blanket pulled to her shoulders, lamp-dimmed door left slightly open. As he stood to leave, Lily's small voice stopped him. Ethan, yes, sweetheart. She hesitated, fingers twisting the corner of the blanket. When people get adopted, she said slowly, they don't have to leave anymore, right? That's right, Ethan replied. Adoption means staying. She nodded, absorbing the word like it was something fragile. Can I try something? She asked. Ethan turned back fully. Of course. Lily's eyes drifted to the wall, then back to him. Dad, she whispered. The word barely made a sound, but it hit Ethan like a wave. He didn't answer right away, not because he didn't want to, but because he needed a moment to breathe through it. Yes, he finally said, voice unsteady. I'm here. Lily smiled. Not wide, not dramatic, relieved. Okay, she said, settling into her pillow. I just wanted to see if it felt right. Ethan stayed until her breathing evened out, until sleep claimed her gently. In the hallway, he pressed a hand to his chest, grounding himself. Some things couldn't be bought. Some things couldn't be rushed. But when they arrived, they changed everything. Weeks passed. The house changed. Shoes appeared by the door, small ones. Crayon drawings taped to glass walls that once reflected only sky. A nightlight glowed in the hallway, no longer embarrassing, but necessary. Ethan adjusted his life without noticing when it happened. Meetings moved, calls waited. Breakfast became a ritual, burnt pancakes included. Lily started kindergarten full-time. She came home with stories, scraped knees, and questions that demanded answers. Why do clouds move? Why did my dad leave? Will you leave? Ethan answered the ones he could. The others he held. One afternoon, Lily stood in the kitchen watching Ethan sign papers spread across the counter. Are those for me? She asked. Yes, he said. They make it official. She nodded thoughtfully. Official like forever, yes. She stepped closer, resting her head against his side. I think my mommy would like you, she said quietly. Ethan swallowed. I hope so, he replied. That night, Lily left her backpack by the door unpacked. For the first time, it wasn't ready. And Ethan understood that healing didn't arrive all at once. It arrived in small, ordinary moments when fear loosened its grip and trust stayed. The adoption day was warm and bright. Sunlight poured through courthouse windows as if it had been waiting for this moment. Lily wore a simple blue dress. Ethan wore the same suit he'd worn the day she asked to buy a father. Judge Caldwell smiled as she signed the final document. Congratulations, she said. You're officially a family. Lily looked up at Ethan. Does that mean you're really my dad now? She asked. Ethan knelt in front of her, eyes shining. Yes, he said. If you want me to be. She didn't hesitate. Hi, Dad, Lily said. Ethan laughed a sound he hadn't made in years and pulled her into his arms. Outside, they walked slowly hand in hand. Lily stopped on the courthouse steps and looked back. "You know," she said seriously, "I thought I needed money." Ethan smiled, and now she shrugged. "Turns out I just needed someone who stayed." Ethan squeezed her hand. He'd built companies. He'd made fortunes. He'd bought everything people said mattered. But the greatest thing he'd ever gained was something a 5-year-old girl had tried to buy with $11 and change and found with trust instead. Did this story move you? Share your thoughts in the comments and rate this story from 1 to 10. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon so you don't miss other heartwarming stories. Click on the last screen to see the next emotional chapter waiting for you. See you in the next story.